Man, I gotta say, Betrayal was always a heart-wrenching episode, but watching it again now, years later, when I'm older and wiser and more practiced at looking at things critically, it's even more so. The episode opens with the Titans investigating Slade. They've tracked him to something. He's doing something, or rather his robots are doing something, and they work together impeccably well to stop all of them, basically walking right through them. And of course, new team member Tara is there, and she gets in on the teamwork attacks, and it's all fun, happy, fun time, until we cut to Slade's lair, and we see that someone in the shadows with a bright blue eye that looks suspiciously like Tara's has been informing him on the Titans' specific abilities. Brought him a whole bunch of Titans tech so that he can examine it and look for weaknesses in their technological stuff too, and not just in their physical abilities. And we see evidence of that when we see that it looks like his robots are not just fighting against the Titans. It doesn't even look like they're trying to win against the Titans. In fact, it looks like they're only there, that they were only where they were in the first place, attacking in the first place, so they can run some new program that Slade loaded into them that examines the Titans' abilities and quantifies them. And Slade says flat out that now they have enough information that they can annihilate the Titans tonight. That, coupled with the way that Tara's been behaving when nobody's looking at her in this and in the episode not previous to this one, but the one right before that, makes it clear that Tara is informing Slade about the Titans, that she is opening the door for Slade to come in and take out the Titans, whereas the Titans used to be incidental to him. He only cared about Robin. He only cared about getting Robin on his side. Now he sees them as proper enemies and wants to wipe them out, Robin included, which also does a good job of telling you, even if it's retroactively, even if you have to realize that this is the case thinking over the episode later, it tells us here that this new person, who is definitely Tara, has replaced Robin as Slade's apprentice. After all, there's no reason for us to think that he doesn't still want an apprentice, and he wouldn't kill Robin off if he still needed Robin to fill that role. And just to hammer things home, just to make it as apparent as possible that this is supposed to be a tragedy, after getting the fight scene where Tara is working like a well-oiled cog with the other Titans, we see a scene of them hanging out and just showering her with friendship and affection. They care so much about her, and they're so happy to have her here. And once that's all done and she returns to her room to get onto her laptop, presumably to signal to Slade that the attack should start, Beast Boy shows up with a handmade gift for her, a jewelry box with a heart-shaped mirror, and asks her out on a date the following night, to which she has to decline because they're all going to be dead tomorrow night, after all. But you can tell that she is having mixed feelings about all this, so it's not surprising when she shows up floating outside his window to ask him to go out with her instead tonight. And they do. They go on a whirlwind adventure-style date to all of her favorite places, which are within the distance that they're able to travel in one night away from the city. But you can already kind of tell that this date is serving two purposes, at least in Tara's mind. That she's trying to decouple Beast Boy from his current life. Because regardless of whether the other Titans have accepted her or not, Tara is someone who has never put down roots before. She cares about herself first and foremost, and so incidentally has gone out of her way not to form lasting bonds with anyone before. After all, with the way that her powers act up sometimes, I'm sure she's run into people before who said they cared about her and said they appreciated having her around, and then tossed her out the door when things got rough. And despite everything, she still expects the Titans to do that because in her mind they've already done that once. But she does care about them, and she cares the most about Beast Boy, probably in part because she can tell how much he cares about her, and that does impact her. And so she is trying to uncouple him from that life the way that she's uncoupled from it, to teach him to detach the way that she does, so that when all of his friends die, he won't mind so much and he'll come with her and hang out with Slade, I guess, or something. I don't know. She didn't seem to really think all this through all too well, because during their date, while the Titans are fighting 200 of Slade's robots, who Tara let into the Titans Tower by shutting down their security system, she and Beast Boy have a rather tender moment. I liked it a lot, just in terms of the way it was staged as a romantic moment, where she asks him if, no matter what she does, he will always be her friend. He will always care about her, and he says that he will. And so she goes to tell him about Slade. They have a romantic moment that interrupts that for just a second, and then Slade shows up and interrupts it properly. Before she has a chance to confess to him what she's done, a situation which might have led to Beast Boy convincing her to recant on it and maybe turning everything around for both of them. Slade shows up and he tells Beast Boy everything. The two of them have a rather intense fight where Beast Boy does pretty well against Slade, actually, but I got the sense that Slade was holding back. I got the sense that he was taking some perverse pleasure from harming Beast Boy emotionally. And Beast Boy insists that Slade must be lying. But then Tara confirms it all. And when Beast Boy asks her why she did it, she doesn't have an answer, but you get the sense that she did at one point. Like, she seems desperate to come up with something, and it really comes off like she at one point had what she considered was a good answer, but it's not a good answer anymore, and she says that it's because Slade helped her. He's the one who taught her to control her powers. Which, back before she started to actually bond with these people, and back before she started to bond with Beast Boy as strongly as she has been bonding with Beast Boy, I bet that seemed like a pretty good reason to her. These are just some random people who, in her eyes, already betrayed her once, versus the guy who helped her control the powers that have been ruining her life for her entire life. Of course she's going to pick him over them. But things aren't so clear-cut now. Living with them long enough to get the information that Slade needed to make this move has backfired a bit. And you can see Tara trying to justify all of this. I already said that I get the sense that it's going through her head that because Slade helped her and because the Titans already betrayed her once, at least from her perspective, that hurting them for him is justified, but you can also see that she's trying to shift blame on the Beast Boy. He promised that he would still care about her no matter what she had to tell him, but then once she actually tells him, it turns out that this is something that he can't forgive. But because he made that promise to her, she's able to turn it around and make herself believe that he's betraying her rather than the other way around. The one thing I don't get about this episode, though, is why after she admitted this to him, and why when the robots failed to defeat the Titans, because the Titans do have a very intense and desperate fight with all of Slade's robots, but they do manage to win. Something that Slade would undoubtedly know. Why didn't Slade just kill Beast Boy? Beast Boy is even able to go back to the tower to tell the others what Tara said and did, and then go mope in his room. I mean, I get it. Slade's a chess master type. He wants to wipe out all of his enemies at once, but still, killing 1 out of 5 is better than leaving all 5 alive to come after you later together, isn't it? It just doesn't make sense as a whole in an otherwise fantastic episode. And this is, despite that one hole, a fantastic episode. Tara is just such a well-written character. Like, they don't tell us most of these things that we can infer about her, but all of the details are there to allow us to infer these things about her, and they just do such a good job in the animation and the voice work, in the small details that they leave for us to pick up on, in portraying someone who is dealing with genuine internal conflict. And holy crap, is this such a better version of Tara than the one in the comics? Because I mentioned it before, Tara in the comics was an absolute monster. Tara in the comics didn't give a shit about these people. She seemed to take more pleasure from hurting the Titans than Slade himself even did. And I prefer this version so much more. And I have all of this positive to say about what is effectively just setup for the 2-part finale of this season. It is a setup episode, and it's still this good. It's episodes like this one which really illustrate how fantastic this show really was. And as per usual, guys, I'd like to know, what did you think of this episode? If you have seen it, let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over at my Discord, link in the description. But either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.